Our Parsha contains within it a famous three-word formula that becomes the basis for Birkat HaMazon, for the grace after meals. The words are Ve'achalta, Ve'savata, Uverachta. You will eat, you will be satisfied, and then you'll give thanks. And our rabbis particularly key in on the order of those words. Eat, be satisfied, and then bless. And point out that, ironically, often the hardest spiritual test is to remember to be grateful once our bellies are already full. By contrast, when we are in moments of dire need, we're grateful for everything. For the littlest gifts, the smallest kindness, the tiniest moments of relief. Josh, in your drash, you told the story of your grandfather, starving, sick, imprisoned in a Nazi death camp, laying in a bunk in the infirmary, too ill to work, and a Nazi officer comes and tells him that a purge of the weak and the infirm is coming, and that if he wanted to live another day, he needed to drag his tired body out in the snow and get to work. You called that a miracle, and it absolutely, positively was. And also, it's not the kind of miracle that any of us would hope happened to us, right? His life was saved. And 2 generations later, because of it, here you are. But he suffered terribly in that process, and for many, many more months to come. When we're in the deepest and darkest of times, even the littlest illumination, the Nazi soldier telling us to get out of bed and work in the middle of the night, the littlest illumination feels brilliant. But when things are good, when life is full and rich and relatively easy, our sensitivity to our daily blessings becomes much less acute. And the Torah was really worried about this. Moses says in this parsha, when you've crossed into the promised land, when your stomachs are full and you have nice homes to live in, when you're prospering in all your work and your silver and gold is multiplied, be careful then not to forget that all that you have is a gift from God. Remember always, it's Adonai your God who has blessed you with all that you enjoy. The material comfort, the level of material comfort that each of us in this room experience on a daily basis is beyond the imagining of our ancestors. Can you imagine what desert wanderers would think of air conditioning? Now, this is a room full of Jews, which means that half of you are currently boiling and wish we would turn it down by 5 degrees, and half of you are absolutely freezing and it needs to be turned up by 5 degrees, and thank God we have new thermostats that won't allow any of us to touch it at all. But the truth is, we are living in an age of wonder, where it can be 95 degrees outside, and here we sit in relative comfort. I read my daughter this book called Shimri's Well. She's loving the story right now, about a little boy who advised King Hezekiah how to build his famous tunnel that first brought fresh water into Jerusalem 2,500 years ago. And she loves this story about this smart little kid who solves an engineering challenge. But she has absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Water comes from a tap, fresh and clean and sweet and infinitely, immediately available. A privilege that literally billions of people around the world live without. Now, the list here goes on and on and on. Supermarkets stocked with every kind of food, every book available, ever written, available for next day delivery from Amazon, every movie ever made available on a streaming service to your TV, every destination on earth reachable by a flight through the air. We live in a country where a team of scientists worked at warp speed to create a medicine that prevents death from a highly contagious plague. The government made it available entirely free, and millions of people said, no thanks. We take for granted unbelievable privilege of food and drink, of physical security and comfort, of medicine, and we treat it like it's no big deal because it's our everyday. Now, that's not to diminish that there are many people in the room who are suffering with great struggles. There are people dealing with illness and loneliness, people dealing with very profound grief, and a collective sense that our future feels uncertain and worrisome. But we have to acknowledge that we are among the most privileged people, all of us, by virtue of being in this room, that have ever lived on earth. We live in an age of wonders, and that makes it hard sometimes to notice. The Baal Shem Tov invites us to imagine that we're out for a hike in a barren wilderness, and just at the moment when we feel most thirsty and weak, we discover an oasis of cool, fresh water. He said we would get down on our knees and cry out to heaven, thanks for that life-giving place. And if we went out into a wilderness again, and again, just at the moment when we felt we couldn't go on, an oasis presented itself, we might come to believe that we are the recipients of special divine favor, that we're witnessing a real-life miracle. But, he said, if time after time when we set out, just when we need it, an oasis of water presents itself, we would eventually come to believe that that was just the way it was. And our sense of wonder, even our gratitude, would fade away. We would come to expect that we will always have whatever we need, and even become frustrated and sometimes enraged if we need to wait a few minutes before our turn came at the pool. It's a familiar story, isn't it? How quickly we can lose sight of our blessings, how quickly we can come to feel owed something by the world, rather than regard each day as a gift. We are 6 weeks out from the High Holy Days, when we'll reflect on the year that was and set intention for the year ahead. As we start that internal work of preparing our hearts for those days, may we find within ourselves space to step back and look with fresh eyes to see how truly and richly blessed each one of us is. May we avoid the temptation to become numb to our blessings, and may we live each day in the light of gratitude for all that we enjoy. Shabbat Shalom.